Hello everyone, my name is Brenda Campbell. I want to welcome you to this video and welcome you to my channel. Today is Mindful Monday and we are going to go through the 8 steps of the Zentangle Method to create something fun at the end. We're going to use a very simple string today and fill it to create some hearts. Some might call this Zentangle inspired art, but because we are using the Zentangle method, it's truly more just a classic Zentangle tile with a string that looks like a heart. So let's go right into it. We start with step 1, gratitude and appreciation. And we are going to take a few deep breaths just to get ourselves centered and bring ourselves into this moment. So let's go ahead and start breathing in and getting tall and breathing out and just relaxing as we let everything fall down. And again, breathing in and out. One final big breath in and exhale and relax. Now just let your breath fall into its natural rhythm and pay attention to it. Don't direct it, just notice. How long do you inhale? How long do you exhale? Just focus on your breath. Try to clear your mind and come into this moment right now. And now take a moment to think of something that you're grateful for. It can be a big thing, it can be a small thing. Just hold on to that thought and feel the gratitude. As we draw today, remember to breathe. And if you reach a point where you're getting a little frustrated, just stop yourself. Take a deep breath. Come back to the moment. And then begin again. And that is all there is to step 1. I always feel so much better after that. Now, step 2, we are going to use our pencil and we are going to put a dot in each one of the corners of our tile. Step 3 is to create a border by connecting the dots. Step 4 is a string, and today we are going to use a heart as our string. So I am going to start, I always start with the dot kind of in the center, but above the center line. Center right to left, but a little high of center up and down. And then I'm going to do a half of my heart. And I bring it all the way to the border on the sides. and the bottom. And that's my heart, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That's my string that I'm going to use to place my tangles. You can see I kind of went outside the border here. It's all good. The next thing I'm going to do now is pick up my Micron 01 black pen, and we are going to draw tangles that are going to fill our heart. Now, I think I'd like to put a little more separation inside the heart, so I am going to use the tangle Muka to do that. So we're going to start with Muka, and I am going to start at the point of my heart, and I'm bringing my first Muka up to the center. And I've got one Muka that kind of curves at where the point is on the heart. Now my second Muka, I'm going to bring up and come the opposite direction. And it is going to go behind this first one a little bit. So I've got my first area of separation, if you will, inside my heart. Now I'm going to continue to use Muka to create more spaces, and I'm going to bring them up to kind of bring them into the curve on each side. So we'll have a little bit of symmetry as we build our Mukas. And I'm going to draw two, one kind of towards the center, and then a second one that completes the top. So here we go with our second one. And then our third one on the side of the heart. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side with the Mukas facing the opposite direction. Then we're going to do one more. There. So we've got Mukas that are forming the outside shape of our heart. Now the next thing I like to do is to add some tipple, and I'm going to add some tipple wherever I've got lines that come together. So I'm going to start up here and add my tipple, and I'm making them large enough to fill the space. And I'm going to turn my tile as I go around. So now I've got a point here where they meet, inside here. And then there's here we've got some lines that come together. I could put some here, but I think that's not that big of a connection, so I'm not going to do that just yet. But I am going to put some tipple in between here. each one of these muka shapes. And I'm just going to put a few in each one. Made that first one look like it was behind. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an aura around the inside of each of these open spaces. So I really have 3 big open spaces. So I'll start here in the center one. And I'm going to turn my tile so I have a little bit better consistency with my aura line. So there's my first one. This one actually kind of touches in the middle there. It's kind of tight, but that's okay. And then one more section to do. This one kind of goes behind there too, but that's okay. So now we've got our mocha and our tipple, and we've got these open spaces that are defined by this aura that we drew. And I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to draw a grid that just kind of goes diagonally. And I'm not going to make the squares terribly large because this isn't that large of a space. Remember to breathe. My lines are not even, but I don't really think that's a big deal. No worries. Okay, and now just to add a little bit of contrast, I'm going to put a dot, a circle black, on each intersection point. It's not going to be very large. I just want to add a little bit of drama inside here. So this is like the tangle floors, but in floors we put a little diamond square, depending on your perspective, shape on each intersection. This is a really small grid, so I think the dot works a little better. The next section we're going to do is the right side or the left side. It really doesn't matter, you choose, but we're going to do the same tangle in each of these, and we are going to do the tangle a maze, which is just a single line that wanders. I don't have a whole lot of space, so I'm going to make very small meanders, if you want to call them that, with my pen. And I'm going to end it where it gets real tight here and begin a new one over here. And then I'll do another one over here. And over here. The heart, I think, would stand alone. If that's what you wanted it to do, it would be fine just as is. But sometimes I like to add this effect to my background where I'm simply drawing lines. So I'm going to start my first one a little bit off center. And I'm kind of making them just a tad shaky. And I'm also going to be leaving spaces here and there. They kind of act as a bit of a highlight in these aura lines. And I think it really makes it a little more interesting. So as I'm drawing these aura lines, I just have a really light touch, which makes lifting the pen for one of those sparkles really easy. You may have also noticed that I started a little off center or center, depending on your perspective. It matters not, but I just usually do these one half at a time. I tend to get a better overall balance or consistency, if you will, when I do that. Okay, now I'll flip it and do the same thing on this side. Now there's one more thing that I think we're missing in this design, if you will, and that's a little bit of drama. So I think I'm just going to take a few of these orbs or tipple and I'm going to fill them in with a solid black and try to get some drama. I'm leaving a sparkle in my black orbs just to give it some drama and dimension. The sparkle actually tricks the mind into thinking that this is round, like a sphere, like an orb. I usually put my sparkle in the upper left corner, but it can be anywhere. It can be in the center even, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be consistent. One can be in one place and another can be in another place. So there is some symmetry to this piece, but it's not a perfect symmetry, and there's just enough irregularity or randomness to the where the mucas landed and where the tipple are, and which ones turn black pearls and which ones stayed white. So we're finished with step 5. So we're going to pick up our pencil one more time, and we're moving on to step 6. Now, the first thing I want to do is put a little smile, if you will, of graphite on the lower right corner of each of my little muca rounded tips. You kind of have to, they don't all point in the same direction, so you just kind of have to decide where you're going to put it. Now the next thing I'm going to do, a little bit there where they overlap, and then I think I'll just blend that out for now. Now, for some reason I like to do this upside down, so I'm going to start here. And I like to bring a little bit of graphite all the way down the stem to kind of give it just a little bit of shade of gray, separate it from the auras in the background. And I just do that with the leftover graphite on my tortillon, kind of cleaning off my tortillon at the same time. Okay, let's go back over here. Okay, so that's one half. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more graphite here. Okay, so I've got my muca pretty well done, shaded. And now, with what graphite I have left, or I can always go back in and pick some more up, I'm just going to put a little smile in some of these. Some of these are just going to add a little graphite, not worry about where it goes, just to give it some color, some contrast. Okay, so now I'm going to pick my pencil back up, and now I am going to add graphite inside the aura line in each of these sections where we drew those aura lines. Okay, now pick up my tortillon and blend that out and away from the aura line. So we're bringing it into the tangle. And I'm just barely touching this graphite with my tortillon. That section is done. See, and I can kind of see the depth showing up because of this shading. It's a really nice contrast. Now we used a maze in these sides, and it's just a texture tangle, so all we really did was give it some texture. If you wanted, you could imagine it as like little bits of lace in between these mucas. But that's just my imagination. All we're doing is giving some texture, and we're adding shading so that we give it a little bit of dimension as well. All right, last thing to shade is the outside of the heart, and I'm only going to do one side instead of the whole thing. And maybe I'll do a little bit down here. Okay. A little too much in that muca. I wanted to pull some of that back away. So what this is doing is kind of adding some dimension to the heart and showing that making it look anyway like it's sitting up and leaving a bit of a shadow. Okay, I'm even gonna I'm not adding graphite from a pencil, just from my tortillon, but I'm kind of doing the whole bottom here, which is fine. And then the last thing is I'm just going to blend out my border line that I created and to kind of finish off this background. I don't always do this. Sometimes I do though. It just seemed like a nice step for this tile. Okay, I kind of like it. So we're done with our shading. That is step 6. And now we are back to our pen, our Micron 01. And we are going to put our initials, step 7, and our signature on. Now I have a chop. I've just kind of stylized my initials. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. Oh, let's put it over here. We've got a little more room. And I'll start with my fescue style chop, because then I get a little more black drama. And I'm going right over top of these background lines I drew, so this way it'll stand out a little bit better. And I will thicken this line for the same reason, because we just want it to stand out. I guess we'll be widening that line. So there's my chop, or my initials. I'm going to flip it over, going to sign it. You can date it if you like. I'm going to list our tangles. And our first tangle is Muka. Then we added some tipple. Then a little floors. And a maze. And there we have our little heartstring. Step 8 is to simply sit back and admire what you've drawn. I like what I see, so I'm pleased. And I want to appreciate every one of you who are still here with me. Thank you for watching. If you did draw along, I hope you post and tag me on social so that I can see what everybody's doing. And with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. So until next time, be you and be happy.